Hi, Jonathan Fanning here, and I am helping to teach the confirmation class this year, and I want to welcome you as a parent to what I hope will be an unbelievable journey. And I say that because I believe very firmly. I've done a lot of leadership development. I do a lot of speaking for companies, colleges, high schools. And one of the points I like to make is that good and great tend to be almost opposites, really enemies. They're at war with each other. Why? Because as soon as something's good enough, we tend to let it be. And I don't think we're built for that. I think we're built for greatness. So I would like to make this year great for your child, for you, and for their journey in their faith. In order to do that, though, I need your help. So I'm asking you for your help, and I want to give you a few videos and a few different tools to help the process, to help in the engagement, and maybe to challenge you, to stretch you. I mean, I know I, as a person, always need stretching and challenging. So I hope this serves you. And I want to start with this. We started confirmation class this year approaching a question of who is God? Does God exist? And what qualities does God have? And in that discussion, we were checking, because very often we go through life, we check boxes. You know, I go to church every Sunday, most Sundays. I've been to confirmation, CCD class, etc. And I'm doing pretty good, doing all right. And sometimes we need to step back and ask some basic, strong questions to see where we really are, what we really believe. So we started with this question. And see, whether we as parents, as teachers ask this question or not, the world will scream it at them. And the world is putting other things in a different order than I think we would like them to be. So we thought we'd ask this question. And we actually took the question to the next level, to a question of evil and suffering. Since evil and suffering exist in the world, a loving God cannot. And we asked the class, what do they think about that question? And again, the world is going to put that question to them. So we thought we'd help facilitate a dialogue around that. And we took a great discussion from a book called A Case for Faith that Lee Strobel, who actually, unbelievable author, started his career in the legal world as an editor for the legal side of the Chicago Tribune, and he was an atheist. And Lee Strobel decided to do an investigation as a lawyer would, as a legal, logical, rational journalist would, into does God exist? Who is this person of Christ? And as he investigated this, he converted to Christianity. And he did it mostly through the logic and in his research, and said, you know what? It has to exist. God has to exist. Christ has to exist as the Son of God. Interesting books, but I want to talk about one specific section of that and give you a tool to help a discussion with your children. And here's that tool. Since evil and suffering exist, a loving God cannot. In the chapter in this book, A Case for Faith, Strobel interviews a gentleman who's a teacher, a professor at Boston College of Philosophy, and a very, very well-known author named Dr. Peter Kreeft. And Peter Kreeft is a Catholic, and he's written several, actually dozens of books. But in this debate, or in this discussion, Strobel starts asking, tell me, how can evil happen? How can suffering happen in the world? And Kreeft's answer was twofold. Part of it said, there is natural suffering. There are Hurricane Irene, Hurricane Katrina, there are earthquakes in Haiti. There are things that naturally happen that create suffering. That we need to find an answer for that. And he said, on the other side, we need to find the answer for humans creating suffering on a small scale, on a huge scale. And we know plenty of examples of that. So he said, we need answers to those two things. And he started going down this path, and he tells a story that perhaps can create a discussion, and we'll give you some questions for this discussion too. But he tells a story about a bear in a trap and a hunter. And he says this bear is caught in a trap. The trap's got his leg, and an empathetic hunter comes along and sees the bear and says, I want to free this bear. So he approaches the bear, and the bear resists. The bear thinks this hunter is going to take my life, is going to hurt me. What's the bear thinking right now? The bear is thinking the hunter is not kind, not loving, right? The hunter realizes that the bear's not going to let him come and free him. So he takes out his tranquilizer gun and loads in the tranquilizer dart and shoots it at the bear. What's going on in the bear's mind right now? What is the bear thinking? Kind, loving hunter? Probably not. Then the hunter looks and the bear's not. That one dart wasn't enough. So he loads his gun again, points it at the bear. What's going on in the bear's mind? Pulls the trigger. Second dart. Now the bear starts heading towards unconsciousness. But while he's still semi-conscious, the hunter approaches the bear and he starts maneuvering the leg to try to get it out. And that maneuvering probably causes pain, grating against the trap of the leg. And then he realizes he needs to turn the leg, twist the leg, and take it out almost like a fish hook out of a fish's mouth. He twists the leg and pulls that leg out of the trap. What is the bear thinking about the hunter at this point? What is the bear thinking? Loving hunter. No, absolutely not. He's barely conscious, but he feels it a little bit. So the question is, there's a difference in the mentality and the understanding of a bear between that level of understanding and the level of understanding of the human, of the hunter, right? Good gap. What's the difference between that same mentality, level of understanding of a human and God? Just a few weeks ago, we had a great first reading from Isaiah. It was Isaiah, I think, 55, and I read it several times, and I thought, that totally relates to this. It said, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord. As high as the heavens are above the earth, so high are my ways above your ways, and my thoughts above your thoughts." The difference between the bear and the hunter is significant, but it's nothing compared to the difference between humanity and God. So the natural side of pain, suffering, evil, perhaps relates to that. And we're going to give you some questions to discuss this. But it perhaps relates directly to that. Maybe God's trying to guide us, and sometimes something happens, and it helps us in our journey, ultimately. So the second side of that, though, deals with humanity. Humans creating pain, suffering. Let's give you the chance to play the supernatural God. What do you change in the world to start reducing that? Do you take away murder? Do you take away child abuse? Do you take away theft? How about slander? How about the evil thoughts that prompt the evil actions? How far do you go before you've taken away free will and now people are merely puppets? And can a puppet freely choose the highest virtue of love? Can a puppet choose that? So I want to give you some thoughts, some food for thought. Go through the slides, go through the questions. One of the greatest ones that we started discussing and paired the kids up to discuss was, think about a time in your life when you've had to deal with some kind of pain and suffering, and how now looking back, you realize it's done tremendous amounts to shape you as a person, to shape the character that you have today. Could you ever see yourself sitting down with God and saying, "God, thank you for that tough time in my life"? And I want you to think about this as parents too. Maybe it'd be a great dinner or after dinner discussion one night. So I hope this serves you. Once again, I'm Jonathan, and I'll be working with the kids through confirmation this year. And I want this to be an amazing experience, and I need your help for that. So thank you so much for that, and thanks for the chance to serve.